What is that? Ow. Hi guys, I'm Amy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a reading wrap up for all of you, but I do want to put it out there that these are books that I read like last summer or over the last 6 months or so that I have not yet wrapped up. So some of them, it has been months and months since I've read them, but I had several of you mention and say that you would still like me to wrap those books up. So that's what I'm doing here. I have 4 books in this wrap up to talk to you guys about, and these are all books that I read for the book club that I'm a part of here in my hometown. Historical fiction and a classic. So if you guys are interested in hearing about those books, knowing that I will do my best, but it has been a while for some of them, then go ahead and keep on watching. The first book I'm going to chat with you guys about is The Stars Are Fire by Anita Shreve. In this story, we are following a woman named Grace. It's the 1940s. She is living in Maine. She's married, has 2 children, and is 5 months pregnant with her 3rd while being at the age of like 22. Like, she's pretty young. And you kind of get the vibe fairly quickly that maybe she's not so happy in her marriage to her husband, Gene, and is a little bit restless and unsure of things. And one day this horrible fire, and I do believe that's based on true events, wipes out her entire neighborhood. And before the fire hit their home, her husband had gone off to help fight the fire. And after the fire, he has gone missing. No one knows where he is and no one can find him. And so Grace finds herself with her young children trying to figure out what to do. And what she ends up doing is she goes to her mother-in-law's home. Her mother-in-law had recently passed away and was a person that didn't exactly like Grace very much. And her mother-in-law's home was in an area that did not get decimated by the fire. So it's this massive house because her husband came from a lot of money, and that's where she ends up. And she finds herself looking for work because she needs to care for her family and just trying to figure out what to do. And that's where this story takes off. I have to say, I don't think this was a book for me. I didn't hate this book, and I think I disliked it more when I originally read it, but it was so dramatic in areas. And this book is about Grace finding her own confidence and her ability to take care of her family and take care of herself and be okay with who she is. But there's a lot of drama within that I just found frustrating, and I'm not going to give spoilers, but this big turning point in the book I just found frustrating. So this book is fine. If it sounds interesting to you, maybe check it out, but it just wasn't for me. Although I will say a lot of the ladies in my book club really, really enjoyed this book, so I might be in the minority in that sense. I know Anita Shreve is a very prolific author, and I haven't written her off necessarily, but a lot of her books just don't seem like Amy books. But if you have read other books by her that you maybe think that I would enjoy, please let me know down in the comments. But this one was a bit of a miss. The next book I have to share with you guys was a book that was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, and that was The Bookshop by Penelope Fitzgerald. And in this story, we are following an older lady. She's like middle-aged, I would say, Florence Green, and she lives in this teeny tiny town, and she decides that she's going to take this historical building that has had nothing in it for years and years and years, and she is going to open a bookshop. As her store gains success and people start visiting, she quickly finds that she has some enemies in the town that are not so happy about the fact that she's opened this bookshop and that they are trying to reclaim this building for other purposes. And that's essentially the whole premise of this story. And I was really excited to read this book and was so disappointed by my experience of reading this book. Florence is the type of character that is written in such a way that you never really get to know her. She keeps you at a distance the entire time. And that very well could be an intentional decision on the author's part, but I just found it to make this story very cold. The ending is a bit like a gut punch, I have to say, and I was not anticipating that ending, and I wasn't necessarily upset with how it ended, but I think it could have been done differently in a way that wasn't so just like, and that's it, because that's pretty much my experience of reading this book. This just feeling of emptiness, of like, I don't know where to continue. I feel like this book had more to say, and it just didn't. So there are some quirky characters in here, and there's somewhat of a mystery, sort of, but another book that was just kind of meh for me, and this was one that largely my book club agreed that it just wasn't what any of us wanted it to be. So if you have had a different experience with it, maybe you can explain some of the nuances of it, because I do feel like maybe some of it went over my head, but largely I just was underwhelmed, is probably the best word that I can come up with. I was so excited when my book club decided to read Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. If you guys know me, you know this is one of my favorite books ever. This has a warm, warm place in my heart that I just adore this book so, so much. And I was really excited to have the opportunity to reread it. It had been a while since I have read it as an adult. And it was a really, really enjoyable experience, of course, rereading it. I did forget how preachy this book can be. And if you read this book for the first time as an adult, I feel like you would pick up on that big time. But that aside, this book is just too special for me not to love it, and it was wonderful to be able to discuss it at length and the decisions that the characters made and the events that happened. So it was a really enjoyable experience. I'm not going to talk any more about it because you guys know this story and you know that I love it, but I had the opportunity to reread Little Women and was very happy to do so. The last book I'm going to chat with you guys about is a book that I feel like a lot of people would probably really enjoy, and most of the people in my book club like loved it. I didn't at all. And that book was What Alice Forgot by Liane Moriarty. She's so well loved as an author, so well loved, and I need to put it out there that I never would have picked this book up had it not been selected for my book club, because it just doesn't even sound like a book that I'm even slightly interested in. So the whole premise of this book is that Alice wakes up after falling at the gym, and she remembers it being 10 years earlier. She's married, she is pregnant, she's very happily married, I might add, and just like really loving her life. But come to find out, when she figures out that it's not that year, that 10 years have passed, she has 3 children and is going through a divorce, she has a lot of missing pieces to fill in. And this story is about that. So many people in my book club love this book. For me, I have to be really honest, and this may be really harsh, it was like watching a bad Lifetime movie. It was just so ridiculous and drama for the sake of drama, I felt. I know a lot of people don't feel that way, and I think I really do need to stress that this is not a book that I would normally pick up. And I also need to put out there that there is a discussion about fertility. Alice's sister, Elizabeth, is struggling with infertility, her and her husband, and have been for many years. And I found the way that was dealt with to be interesting and not necessarily in a good way. I didn't love it. But I guess this book was fine. It just was dramatic and seemed unrealistic to me, and I never really got on board. And I'm sure things like this have actually happened in real life, but the thing that I think I struggled with the most is within the 10 years that Alice misplaced, most people in her life did a 180 as far as who they were and how they acted and the decisions that they made, and I just found that to be very unbelievable. And I think those are the reasons why I feel like it read like a bad Lifetime movie. Does that make sense? If you have read this book, let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts, because like I said, I didn't love it, but I would love to know that if you did enjoy it, why you enjoyed it. I would love to have that discussion with you guys down below in the comments. Okay guys, there you go. There are 4 books that I read within the last 6 months at varying times that I still needed to chat with you guys about. If you guys have read any of them, let me know what your thoughts were. It was kind of a dud group for me, minus Little Women, which doesn't really count because that was a reread. But, you know, it happens. And that's the beauty of my book club, is I end up reading books that I wouldn't otherwise pick up. And sometimes they work out for me and sometimes they don't. But such is the life of a reader. But like I said, let me know what your thoughts were on any of these books, if you read them or if you would like to read them. Yeah, just say hi. I like that too. But if you guys like this video, please like it. And if you loved it, please subscribe. And we will see you in my next video. Happy reading. It's, oh my